I don't want to scare anyone, but I'm going to give it to you straight about Jason.
Friday the 13th is one of the most iconic horror franchises of all time, and probably my favorite growing up. And a big reason for that is Jason Voorhees. And I'm not the only fan, as Jason Voorhees is one of the most popular horror movie villains of all time, and in my opinion, is the best horror villain of all time, because he's an unstoppable force that just keeps coming back and back again and killing off these unlikable characters. He seems to be the best out of it, out of every single popular horror villain, which makes me want to take a look at this chart. And this chart is probably not like any chart you have seen before. It is a body count chart, with all of these lines representing some of the most popular horror characters of all time with the most kills. Now, there are many lines here, but there are only two that really stand out, the orange and the red line, and even so, the red line still goes far and above the orange line. Now, I want to take a closer look at this, so let's take a look at the actual characters behind the lines. Now, at the bottom we have Jaws from the Jaws movies with 18, Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre with 24, Chucky from Child's Play with 32, Ghostface from Scream with 34 kills, Pinhead from Hellraiser with 41 kills, Leprechaun from the Leprechaun movies with 42 kills, Death from Final Destination with 43 kills, Freddy Krueger with 43 kills from A Nightmare on Elm Street, and Michael Myers, even removing the 2018 remake, has 111, but adding those kills up from the most recent remake, it still doesn't even get close to the 158 kills by Jason Voorhees in the Friday the 13th movie franchise. Now you must be asking yourself, if he has that many kills, then there must be a lot of movies in the franchise. And you would be correct. The Friday the 13th franchise has 12 films spanning over 3 decades, which is one of the largest horror franchises of all time. Now, to get a better understanding of the franchise, let's take a deep dive into the franchise timeline, starting all the way back in 1980 to the original Friday the 13th. And the original Friday the 13th is an interesting case, as it is much, much different than the later films in the franchise. As with the later films in the franchise, they are like any other traditional slasher movie, just Jason running around killing people. But in this movie, it is not that. It's a murder mystery. We don't actually know who the killer is, and it's up to us to try to figure that out. And spoiler alert for anybody who has never seen the Friday the 13th movies before or is unfamiliar with the franchise, but it is actually Jason's mother who is the killer in the original, and promptly gets her head chopped off at the end. So that's pretty interesting. Now I want to take a look back at the timeline, starting with Friday the 13th Part 2. See, Friday the 13th Part 2 introduces Sackhead Jason, and Jason's mother's back as a decapitated head. In Friday the 13th Part 3, we're introduced to the iconic hockey mask for the first time in the franchise, which goes on to be in every single sequel after this. Now let's go to Part 4, the final chapter, when we're introduced to a young Tommy Jarvis who goes on to star in the next few Friday the 13th movies. And we also get to see Jason actually die, because it is called the final chapter. Ooh, is that disgusting. But do we go to the very next year when we get another Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning, but Jason's hockey mask looks a little different. It's got blue stripes on the sides. That's because it's a copycat killer. The real Jason's not even in this movie. Well, until the next year, in 1986, when we get Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives, where he's just slashing people now that he's the real Jason. He's back alive, he's dominating. It's probably my favorite form of Jason in any movie in the franchise. He's just pretty awesome. Now let's go to 1988, a few years after Part 6 to Part 7, The New Blood, where Jason goes against basically a version of Carrie. This chick has telekinesis and is putting up a pretty good fight, but you know it's Jason, and he's not gonna die. He's coming back next year in 1989, and he's going to Manhattan. In Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason takes Manhattan, but most of the movie actually takes place on a boat. But when he does go to Manhattan in the very end, it's actually pretty cool. Now we go 4 years after to probably my least favorite Friday the 13th movie. No, it is my least favorite Friday the 13th movie. It's Jason Goes to Hell. Because he kind of blows up in the beginning, and it's just not him for the rest of the way until the very end, because he takes place of people's bodies and stuff, and it's just not cool. It's just not very good. It's just not. But he kind of goes to hell at the end, so is this the last Jason? Is it? No, because they tease Freddy vs. Jason at the end of this movie. But it does take a long time for a new Friday the 13th movie to come out, and it's all the way till 2002, where we get Jason X, a movie some people don't like, but hey, I really like this movie. It's just really entertaining, and Uber Jason's just pretty cool. And a year after, we get 2003's Freddy vs. Jason, the most hype movie in the franchise history, as it is two of the most iconic horror characters pitted against each other to see who can win. And I think this movie is very enjoyable as well. Even though there's terrible acting, I think every time Freddy and Jason are on the screen together is just magic. Now let's go to 2009 for the Friday the 13th remake. Even though this remake is hit and miss with fans, it's good in my eyes. I think the Jason in this movie is one of the best Jasons in any of the movies. He's really close to Part 4's Jason for me because he's just so ferocious. He is one of the most skilled Jasons out of any in the franchise, and I really like it for that. And that's the last movie we've had in the Friday franchise since 2009, making it 12 years since we have gotten a Friday the 13th movie. That means this is the largest drought between films in franchise history, which could also mean an unlikely future for the franchise. See, after the release of the 2009 remake, there has been a lot of issues in the franchise. See, after that remake, Warner Brothers Pictures announced on August 13, 2010, a Friday the 13th Part 2, which would have been a sequel to that remake. A year later, with no news about the remake, fans went to the producer to ask any updates on the movie, and he promptly tweeted, "It is dead, not happening." And ever since, there has always been news and rumors about the franchise, and nothing has ever came to fruition, with names such as director David Bruckner, director Breck Eisner, and even producer LeBron James as names around the series, but nothing has ever come of it. And in more recent news, THR reported that Friday the 13th producer Sean Cunningham has launched a new lawsuit over net profits from the horror franchise. According to a complaint filed on Thursday in Los Angeles Superior Court, the studios distributing the films have systematically misaccounted contingent compensation. The Friday the 13th franchise has grossed more than $129 million according to the complaint, but Cunningham says audits revealed there's been improper deductions of fees and bonuses, undervalued licenses, and underreporting of merchandising revenue and paid TV income, and on and on. And this isn't the only lawsuit Sean Cunningham is in. He's also been in for years a battle against Victor Miller, the writer of the original Friday the 13th, about who owns the actual rights to the original slasher classic. So now with the addition of this new lawsuit, it's looking less and less likely that we will see a new Friday the 13th film anytime soon, or even ever again. This makes me want to take a look back to the 2009 Friday the 13th remake. And yes, which could very well be the last Friday the 13th movie ever. And even though some people hate it, I think it's a perfect ending to this franchise. It's back at Camp Crystal Lake. It's back to Jason doing Jason things in his natural habitat, picking off these annoying characters once again. And I think this movie actually does a great job at it, and is a fitting ending to this icon, this horror icon who may never see the movie screens again. That doesn't mean he's gone from our memories. He's still the most iconic horror villain of all time, and who knows, maybe he'll be back for one last scare.